Go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our April 2026 meeting at Americans for Legal Reform. This is our last meeting that we have before our summer break and the summer barbecue, which we'll be announcing on the Facebook page. But we have actually a pretty decent crowd here tonight, especially considering the song that Rob spoke. We had a decent crowd here, but online it was unbelievable how many people shared it. And I think the last time we were over 3,000 views. So I'm sure it'll be the same, and Rob's always got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're just going to let Jim get a chance to get the video going, which he says he is. And a couple quick announcements. If everybody here could do me a favor, we have Susan, who's our new executive assistant at ALR. We had Susan. She's been doing a great job. She got an Instagram page. She's working on membership cards, and we're actually finally taking credit cards now. So that makes it easier for people to pay their membership either online, or you can call the office and do that. But what I'd like to ask everybody to do, if anybody here has Instagram, if you take out your phone and just go to the Americans for Legal Reform page and like our Instagram page, that would be great. We just started that last week, and we're trying to get people to sign up. So thank everybody for doing that, and anybody watching it online, and when you're watching it later, if you could share it and do that, that would be great. Also, for those of you who are following Jim Fiegel's case, he has a case against Judge Karen Laguercio. What's her nickname? Crazy Karen? Lion Laguercio. That was it. Sorry. Yeah, Trump's got better names than me for people, but yeah, Lion Laguercio. Jim's suing her in federal court, and he's challenging her judicial immunity. And the good thing is he actually put it into ChatGPT, which is pretty accurate. And I believe it came back that he has over a 90% chance of winning. The good thing is, even if Jim doesn't win this, he's not going to give up, and he's going to take it to the appellate court. So we're hoping that Jim makes case law with this, because truly, she was not on the bench when she did this. The argument is whether she was acting in her judicial capacity, and his argument is that she was not. He was just asking her questions like he was almost everybody coming in. He's got hundreds of videos of him asking questions to strangers, CPS, litigants, asking them questions, and she was just another person that was out there. So I do believe he can pierce the judicial immunity, which would be great, because that is a huge problem, is that judges have judicial immunity. I mean, if you think about it, I think it's easier to sue the president of the United States than it is a judge, right? People sue the president all the time. You literally can't sue a judge. They're saying it's almost absolute judicial immunity. So we're hoping that if somebody can do it, Jim Fiegel's the one, because he has the resources, and now he has the time because he's retired. So he's going to go after her. So I wrote some notes for my guest. Sorry about that. Otherwise, I'll go on and on too long about Rob. So I wrote a little introduction for our next guest, Rob Trotta. Tonight we're on to Rob, who's never been afraid to speak the truth about corruption on Long Island. At Americans for Legal Reform, our mission is to expose injustice, fight institutional abuse, and stand up for the rights of everyday people. And that's exactly why Rob's voice is so important. His firsthand experience inside the system gives him a unique perspective to the very issues our organization works hard to bring to light. Rob's been more than a public servant. He's been a true friend of Americans for Legal Reform. During his time as a legislator, he was always there for our members, standing up for their rights and fighting for fairness, even when those individuals were outside of his district. So I improvised a little bit, not to be like Trump, because he gets in trouble when he goes off script. But truthfully, anybody here who knows Rob, whenever we had a problem with one of our members, there was not many people we could go to. There are people we could go and they would let us sit there and give us lip service. But truthfully, Rob, when he was in office, literally helped anybody. I mean, from speak to people in Nassau County even. He probably don't even remembers, but we've had people come to us in Nassau County that had problems with homelessness or losing their house to taxes. And Rob was really always there for everybody. But every time I went to him with anything, he truly helped so many of our members, and we miss that. So I'm sure Rob's got a lot to talk about corruption. Hopefully he'll say it's gotten a little bit better maybe than it was. Who knows? But without further ado, here's Rob Trotta. I'm looking
looking up there, I had more hair then, so that was probably an old picture. And I'm reading about what I say, discussing institutional corruption in Suffolk County, and in all counties, just in government. And when I say institutional corruption, I say that because a lot of people don't even realize what's going on. It's so embedded in government that it's corrupt. So I'm going to get right to the point. The unions, whether it be the police union or the civil service union, and everyone talks about teachers unions, so I'll start there. So I know a guy who's on the school board in the Sachem School District, and I asked him a question, how many people are full release teachers? And he tells me that the president of the Sachem School Board works 2 periods a day and has 3 periods off, where he's the union president. The 3 periods he's off, the union reimbursed the district for his salary. So the taxpayer's not out any money. The first vice president, second vice president, secretary, and treasurer are all full-time teachers. They might get a day here and there off to negotiate or do something. But generally, they're all teachers. And the one who's not, the union reimbursed the district. Let's mirror that. I used my partner out when he was arrested by Burke and Spoda and didn't help any of us. So unions are supposed to be there to help the members, but they were actually helping the corrupt police chief. But let's use them as an example. 9 guys make somewhere around $340,000 a year, and they perform no police function. $1,000 for a canine dog that they don't have. They get about $24,000 for working straight midnights. Like every day they work midnights. They don't work midnights. They get $3,000 or $4,000 for wearing a camera. They don't wear a camera. They get hazardous duty pay. There's no hazardous duty pay. They haven't made an arrest in a lot of them in a decade. But same goes for the Detectives Association, for the AME, the regular county employees. So if you go to the plumbers union, the members pay their dues, and the dues pays these people's salaries. But in government, and especially in county government, the taxpayers are paying over 20 police officers, more than that, I'll get to that in a second, not to go to work. So the New York State Constitution is very clear. You have that paperwork? I'm going to get it right. So when I got elected into office, I raised my hand and I swore to uphold the Constitution of the State of New York. And the Constitution of the State of New York, Article 7, Sub 8, and Article 8, Sub 1, clearly state you cannot give a gift of taxpayer money away. So I've emailed 3 or 4 county attorneys and spoke to our legislative council, and I said, can you explain to me how we're paying a guy $18,000 for a dog that he doesn't have, and it's not a gift of taxpayer money? And what do you think they do? In government, when you want something to go away, what do? Very simple question. Nothing. You don't respond. Right? So it goes away. There's in the police department, there's 1 4-star chief and 3 3-star chiefs. One of these guys, one of the 3-star chiefs, was an attorney, brought this up and was asking questions like this. What did they do? They never spoke to him again. And he retired. So this is going on not just in Suffolk County, in Nassau County. Look, I don't mind, and by the way, I don't blame the union. I don't blame the union people at all. I don't blame the members. I don't blame the officials. Their job is to get as much as they possibly can. Who do I blame? The politicians. Because guess what? The union's collecting all that dues. I think it's between $1,600 and $2,000 a year for each cop. Do the math. It's about $950,000 a year for just the one union. What do they do with that money now? They don't have to pay anybody's salary. Maybe the secretaries, but what do they do with the money? They give it back to the politicians in the form of campaign contributions. So the money they're collecting from their union dues is taxpayer money, because that's how they're getting paid. And they're taking the money and they're giving it to the people who are negotiating and voting on their contract. So when I say it's institutionally corrupt, that's it. The conversation's over. It's a money laundering scheme. It's nothing more than laundering taxpayer money to the politicians who give them a raise. Now, there's a tax cap, I think it was 2.8% or something this year. And the county executive gave the police, and I think everyone got, not just the police, I'm not gonna point them, everyone I think got a 3.5% raise. So you gotta scratch your head and go, wait a minute. The tax cap is 2.8%. They're given 3.5% raises. And the healthcare costs are up 12%, and the pension costs are up 14%. It doesn't add up. How can you stay under the tax cap when you're given these raises? And as everyone knows, the raise, the budget of personnel is one of the major costs. So how do you do it? Everybody know? I'll tell you how they can do it. Same thing Steve Ballone used to do. The Southwest Sewer District collects their taxes. It's all your county taxes on your tax bill, right? So what did Ed Romaine do? He took it off the tax bill and sent them a bill separate. So now that $80 million or whatever they collect for that is now off the books. So now you can give a bigger raise, pierce the tax cap, and say you didn't. And really, he's not lying because he didn't pierce the tax cap. He stayed underneath it. But what he's not telling you is he took something off the bill to be able to do it. He's just mailing it separately. It's a fee rather than a tax. So at some point, and it's coming to fruition, because I saw a recent budget review, it's all online, they're predicting like a $300 million shortfall next year and maybe a $600 million one next year. Because, God forbid there's a recession, how are they going to pay this? The pension costs are going through the roof. There's another thing that's up in Albany now, which is probably going to pass. They're going to probably throw it in the budget. When they started seeing everyone has pensions, all the people with pensions, it was costing a fortune, right? So what happens? The lobby starts, they change it to your 6, so you have to work till you're 63 now rather than 55, and all the teachers were pissed and the cops were pissed. And, you're hired, you know what you're getting, so they knew what their pension was. And by the way, most people don't have pensions. It's only really government employees and teachers who have pensions anymore. So, they're complaining, I have to work till 63 till I can retire. Okay, you signed up for that. If you want to go work somewhere else, go work somewhere else. So what they want to do is lower it back down to 55. Well, my argument is, okay, maybe 63 is a little, make it 60. Why go to 55? But you'll watch, they'll put it in the budget, because I don't know if you see all this, but they're really hammering home, fixed tier 6, tier 5 and 6. And what they're doing, it's going to cost like $1.5 billion, the most liberal, conservative estimate. It'll probably cost much more. Because as everyone's getting raises, the pension costs are going to go through the roof. And which is why you mentioned why we're the highest tax place, one of the highest tax places in the whole country. This is it. And cops deserve to live in a nice house, and teachers deserve to live in a nice house. It's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy that it's just getting out of control, and the people who are making the money to pay the taxes are getting less and less. So at some point, the whole thing could possibly just collapse, which is, I really don't even know how it continues as it is. Because if it wasn't for COVID, and the $1 billion that the federal government pumped into our economy, and the tons of money he gave to all of the stimulus checks, it would have been over already. We would have been bankrupt. So we're heading towards that point now. So it's institutionally corrupt. I want you to think about this. How can it be we're paying people not to do their jobs? In any other union, they take the dues. Like the police union should hire a retired cop, pay him $80,000 a year to be the union president, to run the union, 2 or 3 guys. We're paying him over $300,000, not including benefits or pension costs. So it's really closer to $500,000. Because when you have a guy making $300,000, there's pension costs, healthcare costs. It's like I think it's 40% or 35% more you have to think about. So when people say, why are the taxes so high? Very simple. Institutional corruption. Now, I put a bill in many times that if you took $1 from any union, you couldn't vote on the contract. That's logical, right? Doesn't it make sense? Because if my brother-in-law got a contract to paint the bathroom in a county building, I would have to recuse myself. But the union can spend millions of dollars on my campaign, unlimited amount, and I can still vote on the contract. Does that make any sense to anybody? But nobody knows. I mean, you talk to normal people on the street, they have no idea. I always use the canine dog. How are we paying a guy $18,000 for a dog he doesn't have? It's insane. It's, you know, it's institutional corruption. And it just feeds itself and feeds it. Did people know, did you understand that this was going on out there? That we're paying people not to do their job? And there's certainly enough money in the cost of the union dues to hire someone to do it. I mean, you see the PBA building on the Long Expressway. I mean, the big analogy I use is back when Malone was the county executive, we had to sell the Dennison building and lease it back. At the same time, they bought that building. Think about the irony of that. We had no money. We had to sell a building and lease it back while they bought this, 4-story building. By the way, again, I don't blame them. Their job is to get as much as they possibly can for themselves and their members. It's I used to say, it was me and Anthony Piccirillo who didn't take money from the PBA. Everyone else took money. Some people didn't take a lot. Some people took tons. And when they spent $300,000 or $380,000 against me, and at one point they spent $900,000 against Anthony, I said, Anthony, take the money. What are you going to do? They're going to kill you. Do your best, do what you possibly can. And he's really, I'm very proud of him being the presiding officer. And, but he's in a tough spot. It's a really tough spot. So until people realize that, we are spending money to paying people not to do their job. In the Constitution, the state of New York, now, wouldn't you think that someone, so that's a good story. I asked one of our legal counsels, a new guy, super nice guy. I go, can you find some case law on this where somewhere, somehow, there was a case, actually, Steve Levy did a case to a local court. None of this is going to be adjudicated in a local court. It's got to go through the system. So there was a judge in Suffolk County who decided, it's legal, and left the bench, retired the next week. They never appealed it. But there was one in 1979, this is the case he brought me. It was a pregnant female, 1978 I think it was, and she was a professor and she was supposed to give a lecture, and she missed the lecture, and they paid her. So they didn't pay her, and she sued to get paid, and she won because she didn't perform her job, but because of medical reasons they had to pay her. But that has no bearing. It was the only thing they could find, right? So here's the question. Who's going to appeal this? Who is going to put the money up? And we've got to find some rich guy because it's going to cost, the unions have unlimited money. They'll go through the court system forever. Somebody rich or someone, or some organization that has deep pockets who can sue, lose, and then appeal. Because it's got to go through the process. Now, look, if you told me there was case law, and this doesn't, it says, local governments extends jurisdiction to counties, towns, villages, and school districts. It explicitly states that these entities shall not give or loan money or property for the aid of individual or private corporation. And unions are private corporations. How do we do it? Why do we do it? I know why we do it. Because no one complains. Because the politicians are all benefiting from it. And what they did to me by calling me a communist, all this stuff, was rhetoric. You're driving around with trucks as I don't even know who I was, Sheikh Rivera, I don't even know who that is. The guy was actually, they put my head on some guy with a really good body. People thought it was like an ad for me, but they said I was a communist because I'm talking about this. I mean, what could be more capitalistic than this, than doing something that is good for the taxpayer? I mean, most taxpayers have no idea. I don't know if you heard that up in Albany, there's a bill to require unions to do all school district work on Long Island. And if you see, I see ads on my Facebook page that, only unions can be doing it, only unions can be doing this. And because it's corruption if you don't. I'm like, isn't like free enterprise the basis of our American history? I mean, whoever can do the job, a good job for the lowest price, is the people who, and if they're qualified, should be doing it. But they want to make it so unions can do it. We have this prevailing wage. I mean, a friend of mine did a prevailing wage job at the state of New York on a roof of a building. It cost him $450,000 paying the people. He said he could have done it for about $250,000. So it was almost double the price of putting a roof on a building. Same people doing it, but he had to pay prevailing wage. It's a double-edged sword because there is some benefit of that, and you are paying people more money, and they're making more money, and they can afford to live here. But there's got to be some happy medium. Just a couple other things I was going to talk about. I talked about the tax cap. The sewer tax, we just, people voted, it was a referendum to pay for sewers, and it was an eighth of a penny, it's supposed to $50 million a year. Well, there's a pending lawsuit for $190 million, $178 million, $198 million that when the COVID came, Malone took $198 million out of the sewer fund to pay the bills, never paid it back. So there's a lawsuit pending that now. All this did was, okay, we steal from Peter to pay for Paul, and now we just put another tax on people, right? I could do 4 hours on the whole advanced wastewater system thing that they're putting in all these places. You're going to see in the near future I don't know what the number is, but they sued for the red light camera surcharge. Now, it was $50 for a ticket if you go through the red light cameras, and I'd like to say that I'm partially responsible for getting rid of the red light cameras in the town in Suffolk County. But during that time, they put a $30 surcharge, so it was $80, thank you. So, and by the way, 95% of those tickets were right on reds. We just didn't stop all the way. And I'm going to talk about a guy, and his name was Sal. He was a Korean War vet, and I met him in a deli. He got 7 tickets. Every morning he would go out, very old guy, Korean War vet, never got a ticket, never in an accident. He got 7 tickets. He would go out and get his wife a bagel, coffee, and the newspaper, and drive home. There's a White Castle on Comac Road. He would look, no one was coming, he'd make a right on red. Just didn't stop all the way. Over the next 7 days, he got, a month later, he got 7 tickets in the mail. Right? So all he cared about, he was 89 years old, wasn't in the greatest of health. I said, Sal, throw him in the garbage. What are they going to do? Throw you in jail? But they keep hitting him with paper, $5, $50 more, late fees. So I hear he's sick, he's in the VA. I drive up to the VA, all he's talking about are these stupid tickets. I have a picture of him in my phone, me and Sal. It was at 12, it showed probably like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, Sal, I paid the tickets, it's all over, don't worry about it. But 2 hours later, he was dead. Died. Thinking about this. So this is what we're doing to our public. It was ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So anyway, the $30 surcharge, I was at the legislature saying, I'm not voting for this. This is ridiculous. Someone did some research, and on the floor of the New York State Senate, they said, there's no surcharges. It's only $50. And of course, we had the Democrats who controlled it, who needed the money, who was giving the store away. They approved the $30 surcharge. Well, lo and behold, I said, I'm not voting for this, it's illegal. And lo and behold, they got a class action lawsuit, they sued, there's a settlement, talks going on, it's going to be tens of millions of dollars that we're going to have to pay. Well, which we shouldn't have had to pay. I mean, we have to give it back to the people who got it. And Nassau County's in a worse spot because I think they have a $100 surcharge rather than a $30 surcharge. They stopped collecting it now because they know it's in trouble. But that's what government does. There's also something called the tax map verification fee. This is the scams government does. When you record a mortgage, there's a recording fee. It used to be $65. All of a sudden they raised it to like $365. It raised like $50 million, some ridiculous amount. You'd be surprised how many mortgages are recorded. So I went there and I spoke to the woman who's recording these mortgages. And I said, what do you do? And she said, well, they came and asked the same question. And she said, I look at the paperwork, I match the tax map, I verify it's the same. They said, stop. A tax map verification fee. They made up the fee standing there. So it was always $65. She went through the same process. It took less than a minute, I think 52 seconds. And when she said the words, I verify the tax map, that on the new deed and what's existing, they said, we're going to charge a fee for that, $300. And that's honestly what happened. And they sued, and I believe they lost, and that is a settlement conference going on now. So rather than raising taxes, this is all under the Malone administration, by the way. which is gonna cost, it's like a cycle. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for COVID and the money that they gave to the government and they gave to people and the sales tax revenue went through the roof. And by the way, don't think for 1 second inflation isn't by design, because the cheaper money is, and the more expensive things get, the less you owe on it, because you're getting more money back. Let me just see what else is going on here. Oh, school bus cameras. Another sham. I think it's a $28 million sham. Now, look, if someone runs through a school bus and passes a school bus, God bless them, they should get a ticket. Absolutely, 100% should get a ticket. But let me tell you a story. The Colmac School District, the numbers aren't perfect, but I think it was 4,500 school bus camera tickets written in the Colmac School District. 3,600 were at one location on Jericho Turnpike. So, with Colmac on Jericho Turnpike, just picture any time. There's 4 lanes, a turning lane in the middle, a shoulder, and there's a Spanish restaurant, and some kids live above the Spanish restaurant. So the bus comes in, 2 of the wheels go on the curb cut, 2 of the wheels are on the shoulder, and on Jericho Turnpike, where there's like no light around, cars are flying by in the other direction. So you're an 80-year-old woman driving down the road, 5 lanes over, in a curb cut, in the parking lot of the thing, the sign goes out. Every car goes by, 250, 250, 250, 250, 250. And ironically, there's an auto body shop there. They love it, because the guy who does know slams on his brakes, bang, 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 pull right in, you get your car fixed. So that is what they're doing. But here's the problem. If it was a guy who's running, and I could find one location where it wasn't a double yellow line. Because the school districts, I think all of the school districts in Suffolk County have a policy: we do not let a child out where they have to cross a double yellow line. They go around the other way. I could find one ticket that wasn't on a road that didn't have a double line at a 4,500. So what does that tell you? It's a revenue source disguised as, like, how are you gonna vote against? Oh, it's the safety of the children. And here's my favorite. There's a guy from some organization that analyzes traffic accidents. A child is 19,000 times more likely to be struck and killed by lightning than they are getting off a school bus and getting hit. They're 1,000 times more likely to be hit by the school bus. So I think look, one kid is bad, obviously, but I think there was in the 10 years prior, I'm going back with my memory here, there was like 4 kids killed in 10 years in the entire country by getting out of a car. And what the easy way to do that, by the way, but this is a revenue source, it would kill the revenue, is only see 2 lanes. So why is the camera seeing 5 lanes over? Because if a kid's gonna cross a bus, he's gonna get hit here in the first 2 lanes. And first of all, they're not crossing Jericho Turnpike. It's a money grab. All right, let me think anything else. I mean, I could do 4 hours on campaign contributions. My favorite was the PBA when they were going and soliciting funds from construction companies, restaurants, and they were putting it in their PAC. And New York State election law is very, very, very clear. And it says, any police officer, let me find it here. That's the next one. Because I could have got like 3 police commissioners arrested for this. Misdemeanors concerning police commissioners and members of the police department. Solicits, collects, or receives any money for any political fund, club, association, society, or committee is guilty of a misdemeanor. So I had the PBA's fund listed on New York State website that they were taking money from corporations and putting it in their fund. Now, wouldn't you think something would happen? Nothing. Because
Jimmy do that all the time,
Well, they don't do it anymore.
Oh, but Jimmy used to do that.
Well, I don't know.
Well, he did.
I don't know about that. But there's one law after another that is broken and they do nothing about it. Even, like, remember the guy I told you about, the 3-star chief? He wrote into the rules and procedures the exact same things about, he rewrote in the election law into the rules and procedures. So if they didn't want to charge them, they could charge them the rules and procedures contract. There it is, right there, same thing. Solicits collection, receipt of funds for political purposes. This is the rules and procedures of the police department. What happened to them? Nothing. Who do they give money to? Everybody.
Are they acting in their capacity as a police officer?
It doesn't matter.
Commissioner, or as a union?
Doesn't matter. They're police officers. They are police officers. When you're a sworn police officer, you're a sworn police officer. Period. They try, that's an argument they try to use, and guess what? If they use that argument and they were hired by the union and they weren't police officers, I got nothing I can do. But these are sworn police officers. They tried to use that exact argument to get out of it. It's just a lie. It's not true. You can't discipline a union guy? Of course you can.
Has it been litigated?
Yeah, it has been litigated. It's the Purdy case up in 1984. There was a PBA. By the way, in many counties and towns, it's very similar to the FBI. You can't be involved in politics. You can vote and you can individually contribute to a candidate. There's no PACs, there's no super PACs. The FBI doesn't have any of that. It's called the Hatch Act. I've always advocated for that because it becomes where they control everything. But guess what? Again, I don't blame them. I blame the people that allow it to happen. Because guess what? If these guys are type A personality, aggressive guys, they're going to get whatever they want. And they just steamroll over everybody else. I mean, there are guys, my friends are retired, their pensions are in excess of $200,000. Some of them could be $250,000 coming up for not going to work. So now you pay a guy. Now think about this in terms of people who don't have pensions. The guy works till he's 53 years old, retires, and you're paying him $200,000 a year for the rest of his life. Who's paying for that? Right? Look, it used to be, government employees had a fair salary and they had a pension because they weren't making the money on the outside. It's basically flip-flopped. And my concern is, when you take money away, when you're paying these salaries, and now I'm in a committee meeting and we need money to fix a pothole or to repave a road, and we have no money. Well, wait a minute, we just spent $50 million on people who aren't going to work. They're not performing their job. How do you justify not, helping, feeding little kids or doing something like that when you're paying people? Oh, because they're giving the money back to the politicians. That's about sums it up.
What about remember I was talking to you a while ago about the quality of life over in the town of Avalon, where they're actually evicting people from their homes based on building code?
I'm not a Babylon guy. Ask me about Smithtown, I'll tell you about Smithtown, but I don't know about Babylon.
I know a guy, he retires on December 31st. Rather
The
than
mic, Jim? Jim's got the other mic.
rather than go to New Year where he could benefit for the increase
Oh,
in
that was
pay.
me. That was
You-
me.
Yeah, I know it's yours.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's a classic.
Well,
What that was when I became a legislator, if you work 1 day in the new year, you get like 15 vacation days, personal days.
Yeah.
It was like $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000, maybe even more. I'm not exactly sure. So I went to the Board of Ethics and I said, "Am I allowed to do that?" Because I wasn't getting sworn until like the second or third. And the Board of Ethics said, "Yes, you could work that extra. You could work, retire on January 1st." And I decided not to. And honestly, they used that against me. They say I did, but I didn't. I retired early.
But you could have done it anyway.
I could have done it. It would have been perfectly legal.
And you should have done it.
I probably should have. Listen, you know something? I think it's better because I love when they say you did it, and I go, "No, I didn't." Go to the newspaper. Because it was an article, I didn't do it. I went to the Board of Ethics to see if it was ethical. They said I could, and I didn't.
May I ask what the fight was about in the papers the other day?
About I don't know exactly what the fight was about in Smithtown, but Smithtown is very disappointing to me.
Oh, I know.
It's almost, and I used to be very proud to say I was from Smithtown. It was like, one of the nicer places to live on Long Island, and now what's going on over there? They built a 46-unit apartment building on less than a half an acre in the parking lot of a drugstore, about, from what I see, 7 inches away from a building with their sandblasting tombstones, and maybe 15 feet away from the train tracks. 46 units on less than a half an acre. And they said, oh, it can't be more than 3 stories high, so they put underground parking in. What they didn't tell you is the first story, the underground.
That's part of the affordable housing scam. They're building them everywhere. Every town's getting one now. Every little piece of land's going to go to the developers. And I'm not going to make any accusations because that wouldn't really be an ethical thing to do. But it just seems like people are greasing the poles of their politicians just to be able to get these permits to build these places.
Well, interesting you should say.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And I'm going to give you a great example why you're right. The guy who built it is on the zoning board. He's the chairman of the zoning board. And his partner in it, when I was running, is the head of Long Island Builders Association, some association, and donated $30,000 to my opponent. He spent, I don't know how many, over $400,000. I spent about $36,000. He almost got from that guy alone as much as I spent the entire election. So it gets back to this. How can you accept money from a guy who's got something in front of you? Right? The builders are piling money on these guys. And when you say it's the state, it's really not the state. This is the greatest example of all time. They came down here. Hochul came to Kings Park, and she wanted to build 15 units per acre near the train stations. They put 46 on less than a half. She was asking for a third of that.
Nobody can even afford the one-bedroom apartments they're putting in there.
Yeah, it's like $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like $3,300. Like the one they built in Ronkonkoma, it's pretty for a minute, but $3,300 a month
I know.
for a bedroom?
It's a broken system. Developers shouldn't be able to build, shouldn't be able to donate the crazy amounts of money they do. The super PACs are killing us because, they can spend unlimited amount of money. Unlimited. And they can't coordinate. Great thing. I'll give this a great story. This guy ran against me. He was the vice president or the treasurer of the PBA or the secretary of the PBA, something in the PBA, a full release guy. He was not a copy, he was a full release union guy. He was also on the board of the super PAC. So they think I made a complaint, but I didn't. Someone made I think it was her treasurer was the woman who got arrested, who was Santos's treasurer. I don't know if she gave it up, I don't know. But I didn't make a complaint, but they made a complaint and they said, the law enforcement, this is a really good story, and he was on the board of the law enforcement and the board of the PBA, and he was running against me. So how could you not coordinate? Because the super PACs technically can't coordinate. They could just, it's like with a wink and a nod. So they fined the PBA $50,000 for the coordination against me, right? So when this happened, when they were spending $300,000 against me, I went to the Internal Affairs unit and I go, can you explain to me, they're breaking the rules and procedures, why aren't you doing anything? This is what they actually said to me. We don't know who Long Island law enforcement is. That's what they said. So I go, wait a minute, because I have their document here on my desk, and it's the agreement between the Board of Elections and the PBA and Long Island law enforcement not to do this again, the fine of $50,000, where they broke the rules and they broke some laws. So I go, well, look, here's all their signatures. All their names they signed off on the back. So I gave it to Internal Affairs. Here, it's you. You don't know who it is, now you know who it is. Never heard from him again. It's a broken system. It's called institutional corruption.
First of all, thank you for being here. Your background speaks for yourself. I appreciate it. Smithtown, it's all over social media with such infighting. What do you think is the biggest cause of that. And how could it be stopped or prevented? It's really a shame. I have family members that live in Smithtown.
Like I said before, I used to be proud to say I lived in Smithtown. And this is what happens when you have, the supervisor has been there for 50 years, he worked for the town. Other guys have been on the board for 30 years. There are some good people on the board, there are, but it's institutional corruption. When the developers are pumping money to these people, you go to the fundraisers, there's an industrial area in Kings Park. I can show you videos of mountains of, crime-zoned residential. There's no enforcement. But guess what? Those are people who are donating. I can go on and on. Look, when I was a cop, I did money laundering, right? When I was in the FBI, that's what I did. You can see it. The money just flows from the rich people to the politicians. And that's what it is. It's this gentleman brought up the overdevelopment, and the people, this, because when the house goes up for sale, it sells, so it's affordable to someone. I want to live in Great Neck. I want to live in Sands Point. I want to live in Malibu. I can't afford it. When my parents were buying a house, they were from Glen Cove. They couldn't afford Glen Cove, so they bought a house for $14,000 in Comac. You're going to have to go out east, and what they should be doing is building small houses like they used to. Track houses where you can put them on a quarter of an acre, you put these advanced wastewater systems in, and you keep Long Island suburbia, and you don't turn it into Queens. And all that's happening now is these developers, their eyes light up when they see these sewer systems go in. Now we can pile people on top of each other. There's no longer any wastewater problems, and we can make billions of dollars off these apartments. Billions. And what you see happening is the Broxmeyers who own Fairfield, some guy will build an apartment building. The second they get the CO, they come in and pay him way more than it's worth because they have so much money. They're collecting so much money every month in rent. It's a business expense when you buy something else. If you take the money, you got to pay taxes. It's a business expense, you don't have to. So it's just getting out of control. It needs to throttle back, and you need good people in there to say, time out. East Mauritius, or somewhere in Mastic, or somewhere where there's, near the Pine Barrens where there's 100 acres, let's build quarter-acre housing. Let's build something small, affordable, and we can put our young people there.
Hi, Rob. I just wanted to clarify one thing. A moment ago, when you were speaking about when you were in federal government and said you did money laundering, am I correct in thinking that you tracked through money laundering and prosecuted it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Huge, a cigarette case where they were selling illegal cigarettes, and the guy was making, you ready for this? Not gross. He was netting $80,000 a day in cash. Wow. I did a case where I would carry hockey duffel bags of money. Hockey duffel bags filled with money. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
How you doing, Rob? Thanks for coming. I actually had 5 questions for you.
Okay.
First is you guys got rid of the red light cameras, which is great. Why are they still up?
Probably because we have a contract dispute with the developer who won't take them down, or I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
The second thing is Jake's 58. Is that true that if we all ran for a political spot, the money goes towards the campaign funding?
No, definitely. I don't know what the state portion does, because the state does have a campaign finance. Suffolk County does not. The state has, like, if you run, if it's 12 to 1, so if someone gives you $50, I think you get 600. Yes, 12, no, maybe it's even more. So, and look, I have mixed feelings on that, because I think it could, in some ways, it levels the playing field. I'd hate to use taxpayer money to subsidize government, to subsidize candidates. But something? It might be an answer, because, how do I compete with a guy when I'm against the development, and this guy has a billionaire, and he has, tons of money to build an apartment, and he's going to let him build apartments, and I'm not. If the taxpayer is paying me, I'm representing the taxpayer.
And then also, a lot of our money, I believe it's 33% of our tax-paying dollars, goes towards city schools, Rochester schools, Albany schools. Why is that? Why are they using Long Island as a cash cow and taking all our money? I mean, I don't know if it's true. Maybe I misunderstood, but I think $2.9 billion leaves Long Island and never makes it back to us.
That's probably true. It's a cash cow. We're a cash cow to them. Look, it's the state collects the money and they distribute it. So, I don't know if those numbers are true. I'm relatively sure we definitely do not get as much as we give up because, we are a wealthy community.
But why is our tax-paying dollars going to other school districts and not us?
Well, when you pay your school district tax, it goes to the school district. It's probably the income tax money that they're getting. So they're taking your income tax money and they're distributing it to other places. And a lot of it, I'm sure, is the gambling money because a lot of that goes to the education. I think their philosophy is, we're helping disadvantaged students in other spots. I guess, I don't know.
This is a little bit of a kooky question.
Okay.
But a way of saving money on taxes, right? Do you see how like AI is coming out and robots will be in the classroom teaching? You'll have one robot central that will be the superintendent with a human with it, talking to all the robots in Long Island, and we won't pay salaries anymore.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. I just don't, not in our lifetimes. I don't think that will ever happen. I don't think the technology's there, and I don't think, a kindergartner is going to listen to a robot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to see it. I don't think you're going to see it. I don't think anybody in this room is going to see it.
And then, well, just so you know, they're working on reversing aging. It's in front of the FDA right now.
I don't know if I want it at this point.
No one does. So the last question is I don't know what was going on. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but people of the Republican Party was attacking you, going after you. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that always goes on.
Why is that? If you're doing such a good job,
because the guys who run the party are super nice guys. They really are, and they want to control the government, but it takes money. And I have a thing. I don't take money. As far as I know, I haven't taken money. There was one person, like some college organization sent me $400 when I first ran, and somehow they let me tell you how screwed up they are. When I ran, and I ran against the guy from the PBA, they said Rob Trotta took $10,000 from Charlie Reichert and he named the Vanderbilt Planetarium after him. Now, Charlie Reichert gave me probably more than $10,000. He owns a grocery store. He's never asked me for anything. He's the nicest human being. He loves what I say about this. This is why he supports me. The Vanderbilt Planetarium is named after him because he donated $2 million before I was ever a legislator, and it was named after him before I was ever a legislator. Mike Dowling, who I worked out with the gym, the president of Northwell, gave me $500 when I first ran. Somewhere along the line, Boulogne, who ironically now works for Northwell, sent $300,000 to a not-for-profit that was working with Northwell to help like homeless veterans or something. And the PBA said, Rob Trotta took $500 from Mike Dowling and he gave Northwell $300,000. And they attached a newspaper article about it. In the article, it said, Northwell received no county funding. It went to the not-for-profit. By the way, the county executive does all that. The legislature has nothing to do with that. We don't even approve that. So I go, when they came in, so I said, Internal Affairs, they're lying. They lied. Their own documentation proves they're lying. What do they do? Nothing. Because who supplies them with the money? How does the county executive give them a 3.5% raise when the tax cap's 2 1/8? How? Why? Money. Look, Baloney, I lost count at about $3 million the PBA spent getting him elected. Romaine, who's the nicest guy in the world, took about $600,000 so far from the union. Now, how do you take $600,000 or $3 million, right, and then negotiate their contract? It should be you can't take money from them, period. And that's when you get back to the campaign finance. Maybe that is a good idea. Maybe it is okay. Because guess what? If the government gave, if the taxpayers paid and I won for the town of Smithtown, guess who I'm looking out for? I'm looking out for the taxpayers. I'm not looking out for the developers. I'm going to go to the people who paid me, the taxpayers, help me get elected, and I'm going to look out for them. Now it's a special interest. That's all you're going to do. Go to the meetings. Go to the legislative meetings. It's all union people. You know, my favorite one is Mario Matero calls me a liar. Mario, you're telling her I'm a liar. What did I lie about? So I brought my wife, never goes to anything. And ironically, the district attorney's sister I was running with for town board. So we went to a zoning board meeting where they were talking about this apartment complex. So we walk into the meeting, saw it at 7, we got there at 10 to 7, and the first 5 or 6 or 7 rows were all full of plumbers union officials. Because Mario Matero was a plumbers union, whatever, I don't know what they call him, delegate or whatever he was. And he fills the room up. These people don't live in Smithtown. Maybe 2 of them out of 25 lived in Smithtown. But they're there to get their word done. Now, it's okay. So when someone comes up to talk, they're for or against it, they boo. And when they're for it, they clap. Now, you get 50, 60-year-old women in the back, they're afraid to go up. Oh, I don't know. It's an intimidation thing. So I said, yeah, Mario, people were intimidated. You're lying, they were intimidated. Guess what? That's what you call me a liar about? That's not it. It's ridiculous. So what they do, they will say anything, and just if you say it enough, people will begin to believe it. So I have no respect for him. 0. Calling me a liar?
Yeah, but I mean, even like what, like when the Republicans are turning on you and you're doing a good job, it's just like causing chaos. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, I tried to run with 2 other people, ironically the district attorney's sister and a pilot who's retired, who turned 65, was forced to retire. He's the head of the Comac Civic Association. And, we didn't, honestly, 2 things happened. I didn't push raising money, and I didn't ask for any help. I thought that I could just knock on the doors and get, I knew the 6,000 people who were going to vote, and I tried to knock on their doors. What I didn't count on, and this is the moment I knew I was in trouble. I think, Mike, I don't know if you were with me. I'm walking in Kings Park, and I'm talking to the mail woman. She has the mail. And she has my mail, and she has my opponent's mail. And I had this house, and a house down the road, and he had every Republican. I mailed to 6,500 people. He was mailing to 37,000. So, I could have done 1 mailer, and he was doing 10 or 15, because he had hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what happens with that is he never mentions my name, or everything's parks, beautiful. At the last minute, there's an insurgent who wants to charge for your parks and do away with your turf fields. And my argument is very simple. They spent $83 million on the parks, which is great. Put some turf fields in, make the parks look really nice. Except a few things. They screwed up one of them. You can't even, they all gonna have tournaments there. It's too short. I went to a true story. I went to a softball game. I walk up. I'm not there for 2 seconds. I'm looking at the scoreboard. It's like 2-2. It's the 4th inning. Guy on second base. Guy hits a home run. Guy drops the bat, walks into the dugout. Guy comes off second base and walks in. It's an out. You're only allowed 1 home run because the field's too short. So this is what we paid $9 million for. So here's my point. If we spent $40 million on parks and $40 million on revitalizing our downtowns, building a parking lot, that would have been smarter. That would have helped everything. And I want to get back to one thing that just crossed my mind, which is now out of my mind. Go ahead, ask the question.
But then what about the oversight? There's no oversight on all of this.
There's no
Who's
oversight.
watching?
Nobody. Me. Yes.
Here we go, 1 second.
No oversight.
What?
Why is there no?
Because it's institutional corruption. Everyone's there. I mean, it's all a group. The oversight is nobody. This gentleman in the back, there was a good point I was going to bring up about the parks.
With regard to institutional corruption, are you familiar with the term Title IV defunding?
No.
I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but Title IV defunding is funding that's matched by the federal level to the states when child support's allocated. For example, if I was to pay $1,000 a month in child support, 2/3 of that would be reimbursed from the federal government to the state and county.
That you would pay?
No. The federal government would pay it to the state and county.
I don't know anything about
Under
that.
Title 4D of the Social Security Act. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it correctly, but would you consider something like that to be institutional corruption based on the fact that it's incentivized?
I don't know enough about that.
Okay.
I really don't. But I do know that like, when you look at our budget, all the social service stuff, like the CPS and all, that's all subsidized through the state and federal funding. Like we don't even, like your taxes don't even pay for that. The state gives us funding, the federal government gives us funding, Section 8, HEAP, all that money comes from the Fed. So it's part of your taxes, just a different tax. It's not like, I know the county funding pretty well. I know whether, how the fees come in, how if you look at your tax bill, by the way, we stayed at the tax cap, but the police district tax went up 7% this year. Right? So whenever you're breaking the tax cap, right, even though you're faking it, that money's coming out of somewhere else. Somewhere else, something else is not getting done. Your road's not getting paved, a building's not being built. I mean, the big joke is, when I first got on, we approved building the property section of the police department. This is a great story. Now, I invoiced tons of drugs. I've been to the property section 1,000 times. There's stuff in there from the 70s. Oh, we need more room. Okay, maybe you're right. It was homicide cases you have to keep forever. But you certainly can get rid of a lot of this crap. But I really pushed them to get rid of a lot of the crap. And we approved the $25 million to build it. That was in 2014. And here we are 12, 13 years later. They never built anything. They wanted $22 million to bring a fingerprint lab. It's something I know about. I know about, the FBI is mandating it. They're not. I knew exactly what they want. This is what happens. They want the builders to build, the electrical unions. All these people are putting pressure, this is under the Gore administration, to build something. Because guess what? The unions work, the construction workers work, and the taxpayers were built. We needed a fingerprint lab like we need a hole in the head. They said, it has to be accredited. The federal government is demanding that we have an accredited fingerprint lab. So I got the federal government guidebook. There wasn't a single word, not one word about the physical demands or layout of a fingerprint lab. Nothing. $22 million they wanted to build it. I killed it. I proved to the other legislators this is crap. Right before I left, they approved the new fingerprint lab. They're building it inside the old one. I think it was $560,000. Done. And they got accredited. They brought them all in. It was accredited. It cost $500,000. But if I didn't bitch and complain saying, you people are out of your minds, I proved to them that they were wrong, you would have a fingerprint lab there now for $22 million. Which probably would have been $32 million after the cost overruns. There was something about the parks that I wanted to bring up, but I forgot what it was. This gentleman?
You mentioned red light cameras.
Red light cameras, okay.
I had a real estate closing held up because I had eight red light camera tickets that I was disputing.
Yes,
So I wound up paying it so I could finish up the...
correct.
Okay.
What he said was,
If the red light cameras...
they in Suffolk County?
Yes. If they were deemed illegal, do I get refunded?
They weren't deemed illegal. The $30 surcharge was deemed illegal. So if this works out the way it is, you'll get, were they in Suffolk County?
Yes.
You'll get a letter in the mail saying you're entitled to this $30 back or some portion of it. This is probably a year from now, if it works out. I don't know what the details of it is. And you will be able to apply for the $30 part of it back. They were doing that. So the question was basically You know, if they would put a lien on your house or on your car if you didn't pay. You know, so each gentleman went to sell his house and he said, sorry, I have to pay the red light camera tickets. I wish I could think of.
That is illegal now, right?
It's not illegal. We just don't have the cameras anymore.
I got rid of the whole.
Gone. Nothing in Suffolk County.
You talk about how the IDAs.
Oh, the IDA. Oh my God. The IDA. I think it had good intention, it's a disaster. It really is. It's almost as bad as the land bank. The IDA gives tax breaks. It was, supposed to be to keep businesses. Like Canon was going to move out of state. Okay, you give them a tax break. Some big company. It becomes, the joke is, oh, I'm going to move out of state. Oh, we'll give you a tax break. Then it went to apartments. And this is a great example. Another Mario Matera story. He fills up the place in Brookhaven with plumbers union officials, and we're going to give this an apartment complex. It's going to be for college students. It's in Selden, 214 units. It's only going to have 6 kids in it. So of course, they give them the tax break. So I'm driving out there, I don't know why I'm out there, and it's finished now, almost finished. I pull in, and there's a school bus pulling in. So I get behind the school bus. I count 21 kids getting off the school bus. Okay, so I go back, I'm driving out of the parking lot, and they're changing the sign to Fairfield. So they built it, they got the CO, and Fairfield come in and build it. Now Fairfield, they're billionaires. They own like 7,000 apartments or some ridiculous number, plus buildings everywhere on Long Island. Apparently very nice people, but they're billionaires. So I get on the phone and I go, okay, there's only supposed to be 6 kids. I counted 21 on one bus, and you sold this to billionaires. Tell me they didn't get the tax break. They got the tax break, right? So I call the school district, 56 kids go to that school from that apartment complex. And they said there were 6. At the time, I know the numbers, it was $150,000 they were paying. 100 to the school district and 50,000 to the rest of the group. So 100,000 is 5 kids. At the time, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, there was 299 pending foreclosures in that school district. So what does that tell you? The people in the school district are paying for the billionaires who are owning that apartment building. The people who are hurting in Selden and Centeridge, who go to that school district, are paying the taxes for the 50 kids, 6 he's paying for, to go to that school district. And they try to argue, oh, the school enrollment is down. That's what I was talking about, the parks. Enrollment is down so they could absorb the kids. Well, I went to the Comac High School the other day, the high school I went to. It's like a palace. It's something like a college. It's unbelievable. They have a media, they have an operating room, like if you want to be a doctor, you learn about that. They have a courtroom over here where there's a judge's chamber and a jury. They have a finance room. So this is getting back to the ballparks. When I graduated from Comac High School in 1979, 1,280 kids graduated from the 2 schools. Last year, 420 graduated. Did the taxes ever go down? Nope, not once. They made the school a palace. The education is through the roof, but the taxes never went down. Kings Park School District used to have 400 people, now there's 200. Smithtown used to be about 1,300, now it's 600. The number of children is dropping dramatically, so why are we spending $83 million on turf fields? We got by in 1979, there was twice as many kids, right? Now we have a third of the number of kids, and they're spending all this money. Where I want to lead with this, because there was one more great point with it. Who's going to live, when COVID hit, everyone moved out from the city. Because at some point, we're all older here, we're going to die, and our houses are going to free up, and there's going to be a lot less kids buying them. So I had a friend of mine who was out in Palm Springs at a real estate seminar, and they said in 2027, you might see the Long Island real estate market taking a hit. Because we're all, like my parents died, a young couple moved in, there's no kids, and some of the kids are moving out of here because it's so damn expensive. And what they say is, let's get back to the tier 5 and tier 6, where they want to change it. They're saying, oh, we can't get people to work. Oh, when I was a young cop, when I took the police test, 30,000 people took the test. Now, and they only hire about 300 per test. Now only 13,000 took the test. Oh, look, no one wants to be a cop anymore. It's not true. Well, why don't we just talk about the kids? There's no more kids. So when I was a kid, there was 1 million kids. So 30,000 people took the test. Now there's a third. So a third is taken. A third, it's the same number, same proportion. But they're using that to scare people. Oh, no one wants to get into government. You know, we can't get anybody. The only problem they're having is hiring corrections officers. People are dying for government jobs. I can't tell you how many people call me up when I was a legislator. I need a job. I need a job. I want to get. And I say, go take a test. You know, I'm not. Listen, no one's giving me a job. Right? Not, you think that the Republican Party or any party, they don't want anything to do with me. And here's the irony of it all. I'm a very good saver. I'm cheap as hell. I painted my own house this week. I fixed my own sprinkler system. And I get to stand here and say this because I don't care. I'm set. I have a pension. My wife's a teacher. She's going to have a pension. So I'm advocating for like the normal person who's paying my pension. That's it. I got nothing else.
Do you worry about your own safety with all this?
Never.
Stuff you're doing? No?
Never.
Good.
Well, I wish, look, you know what happened.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that for a second. I don't know if people are aware, but you know, about a week before the election, this is when the Minnesota people got murdered. A few of the politicians, they knocked on their door and they shot and killed a couple politicians. So the police commissioner put out an email to all elected officials, be vigilant, be careful. And I was in the middle of this primary, and a couple of nights in a row, this car is revving its motor, it's in my driveway or at the end of I can't see it. From where my house is, my bedroom's in the back, so I could never see it. And my wife's saying, what the hell's going on? One night it sounded like a jet engine. I was like, what the heck is that? And by the time I got up and got orientated, it was gone. So I go out to my car one day, the next day, and my neighbor comes over to me almost in tears. Rob, I'm worried about you. They're spray painting my signs with like red. You know, they tried to. The PBA has a website against me, and they would my name. They use like robtrotta.com or something, and they would look like blood though. You couldn't even read it. They're tearing my signs down. She says, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your safety. What happened in Minnesota? So I go back to the email and I go, all right, let me call the police and have a plate. I live in a court with 5 houses. Let me put a plate reader, get them to put a plate reader. The police department was great. They put a plate reader up. The next night, about 10:05, I hear it, I run. First time I see it. Now, my neighbor tells me it's a white pickup truck or a white truck. I get it. Now, I'm good at buying pickups. I always had pickups. It's a white, regular cab pickup. So I immediately call the lieutenant. I said, Lieutenant, it just happened. He goes, okay, we got a plate reader on it. We send in 2 detectives and a sergeant. 9 minutes later, I got a call. We got him. I go, okay, you know, who? Yeah, the guy's Joshua somebody. I don't know who that is. I go, where are you? He goes, Berg Avenue in Kings Park. I go, that's where the supervisor lives. I go, what's going on? Yeah, he's unlicensed, unregistered. You know, we're gonna let him go. We're gonna talk to him. We're gonna have crime control handle in the morning. I go, excuse me? Get us now. Oh, they're gone already. No, get a statement from them. Put them on paper. Did you search the car? Did you search the house? Oh, I don't know. We'll deal with it tomorrow. So I go on. The guy's name is Joshua Smith. I go online. I pull up Joshua Smith, and his girlfriend is the supervisor's daughter. And ironically, he lives next door. That's how they met, I guess. In a house next door, in a room in the house next door. So, of course, the supervisor puts out a press release, which I wish I had now. No one in my family had anything to do with this. No one involved in my campaign had anything to do with this. And the police department, by the way, you know, isn't a big fan of me. They slow walked it, and they arrested him at 7 o'clock the night before the election. So there was no press at this guy, and they arrested him and not her. So it's been going to court since then, on and off, you know, motion to dismiss. No. Supervisor never apologized. Oh, by the way, the DA, because I was running with the DA's sister, appointed a special prosecutor. And about a month ago, she called me up and they did a cell site analysis on the daughter. And the cell site, she told me she was in front of my house 6 of the 7 nights prior to them being caught. So I asked the police commissioner to arrest her. Advise me when you're arresting her. And apparently he's not going to arrest her.
What they charge with?
Stalking.
Stalking.
Stalking, yeah. It's a relatively new charge. My argument is, okay, unlicensed, unregistered, and uninsured. Wouldn't you write them 3 tickets and impound the car? Period. Which leads to that word up there, institutional corruption. The county executive was supporting the guy who was running against. The presiding officer of the legislature was supporting the guy who was running against.
What's his name? I want to check it out on Webcrims.
I'm sorry?
I want to check it.
Joshua Smith.
Joshua
They've
Smith.
got a 78 DOB.
Okay.
It's coming up because his law. Here's the irony: his lawyer is going to be a judge. He's on the ballot, probably running against no one, right? He's going to win. You see the judges; they're all cross-endorsed. Look, I'm confident. Look, what gets me more than anything is the supervisor doesn't say, "Look." By the way, these weren't 19-year-olds; they were 47 years old. This wasn't some kid. What gets me is they didn't say, hey, look, my daughter's made a mistake. The guy made a mistake. We apologize. You know, because now my wife's thinking, okay, they're not even admitting this. Every piece of evidence, they interviewed them. I have their sub-report from the detectives. Oh, yeah, they admitted going, they said they won't go back. Wouldn't you, now my wife's going to think, if it's so corrupt that they didn't write them a ticket, they're not admitting it, who knows what these people will do? Is there any recourse? Is there any justice? It's ridiculous.
So you told me.
Held off arresting him, knowing that if they arrested him at that point, it would have been public.
He's been arrested, yeah.
But I meant they held it off. till-
Of course, they slow walked it, yes.
So they worked with him.
They should have arrested him that night.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
So you told me he had his car was unregistered at the time
Yes,
and no insurance.
correct.
But you get a hold of the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles. They have the license suspended.
Well, that makes sense, but he can't. They didn't give him a ticket. Now he's got it.
Well,
By the way, he's a convicted felon. And he works for the town of Smithtown. They hired him.
so is President Trump.
And you know what? And you know what his conviction was? Putting a bodily fluid on a law enforcement official in Oklahoma. It's crazy. Anyway,
That judge that in New York City that sent a policeman to jail for
yes,
6
horrible.
years for throwing a cooler
Yeah.
at a kid that eventually, unfortunately,
That is absolutely a miscarriage of justice.
And he's, a previous case, he let a gentleman go after 6 months in prison that killed someone in the subway.
Yeah, look.
6 months for killing
Yes,
someone.
that is a total. I watched that video, and that is absolute. That guy should not be going to jail for that. Guy selling drugs? Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. You know, I want to get back to the what other thing? Oh, so like the police commissioner is not going to arrest her, or hasn't arrested her. Let me say it that way. So if you look at Nassau County, let's go back to 2013. There was a student who stole some computers from, I believe, the Roslyn High School. It was a friend of the deputy police commissioner's son. They recovered the computers, and they brought it back to the high school. And the high school said, I want him arrested. And they didn't arrest him. So the DA at the time, Madeline Singas, I think it was, guess what? Arrested the deputy police commissioner and 3 of the cops who refused to arrest him for official misconduct. The 3 cops pled guilty and retired, no jail time, nothing. The commissioner went to trial and lost and went to jail in Suffolk County for like 90 days. And when he got out, he appealed his decision to clear his name, went all the way to the appellate division, and he lost.
Suffolk County or Nassau?
That was in Nassau County. Flanagan was the guy's name, very good. So there's case law that says Now, I don't know if it's different from a felony, but I have the 18-page decision. So this police commissioner, look, if she was in the car twice, once or twice, maybe even 3 times, okay, the guy was an idiot, he went by the house, she couldn't get out. 6 times? You were involved. Sorry. So what are you sending? What message are you sending? There's 2 tiers of justice that, my wife has to be afraid to live in her house because they're not admitting to what happened. It's ridiculous. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, what is their mindset that they're not saying, like if it was my kid, I'd be dragging him by the ear to the front door to apologize. Saying, what are you, out of your mind? Right? But this is it. So if they're capable of doing that, there's a problem. Of not being able to admit, hey, this 47-year-old daughter of mine and her boyfriend were idiots. I apologize. But guess what? It's over. It's over. What am I going to say? Okay, you apologized. It was stupid. But these are 47-year-old people, and the guy, like the supervisor's like almost 80. Like, wouldn't you just... Nothing.
Rob, who's paying for Joshua Smith's attorney?
I don't know who's paying for him, but the guy is like I said before, he's on the ballot to be a judge. That's a decent guy. Look, he's part of that. Anyway.
Makes you want to crack.
I'm sorry?
As a former elected official, what is your opinion about elections where you have unopposed, but usually judges?
Yes. We had a district attorney who ran unopposed. I don't believe in it. This is a democracy, it's America, and you should not have these gross endorsements. Look, the judges are, generally good, fair people, right? They want to be fair. And I like the fact, I love the federal judge thing because you're there forever. You can't get rid of you. So once you're in, you can do what you really want. You can do what's right. The problem is some of the younger judges, they want to get elected again. They want, I like the older ones who after 70 have to retire. They're now free. They can actually do the right thing. And I think generally they do. And I think the judge in this case is a fair guy. I think, look, I'm not looking for the guy to go to jail. I'm looking for him to say, look, I'm sorry. Plead to some stupid thing. I don't care. But just come up and say, look, I was an idiot. I was stupid. I was wrong. I apologize. I mean, if you read the motion to dismiss, it's sad. Oh, it's an old car and the muffler was loud. What are you doing in my court 6 nights in a row? I live in a court. You didn't live near me. Revving your motor like a jet engine. We have a video from my neighbor's camera. It sounds like a jet. It's a sad, like I said, I used to be proud to live in Smithtown. I'm not,
I take it right. After the case is over, I take him right to Iceland Federal Court and sue him for stalking. No matter what happened in the case, so he violated my civil rights and really run him through gauntlet.
Yeah.
Anybody ever did that to me, he'd be in the drink.
I haven't even gotten to the good story. I'm not going to get into it.
That's the other good story.
I got another one. No.
That's the good story.
I got another one, the same thing. It's a sad state of affairs, and it all comes down to one thing: the love of money. It always comes down to money and power, which the money gives you the power. It's sad. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second, so
Oh.
I can hear you at home.
Oh, yeah. I'm understanding you were an insurgent candidate? Is that correct?
No, I was a Republican who ran for what? I guess.
No, I understand that,
Yes.
but you didn't have party backing.
No. The first time I ran, I didn't have party backing.
Okay, so your ballot petitioning, did you have to go out and do that alone?
Sure.
You didn't have any.
Mike and I and a couple other people. I think I got 325 signatures myself out of the 500. I don't mind doing that.
But what's your experience with respect to the party itself using patronage jobs and workers to go out and get ballot petitions for their candidates?
Look, in the scheme of things, that's nothing. In the scheme of what goes on, look, I know getting on the ballot's not hard. 3 or 4 people can get you on the ballot. It's not hard.
Well, I'm talking.
But people don't know that. You're right, though. People don't know that you can just knock on people's doors and say, Republicans, hey, look, I'm running for office. It'll give you a choice. Because the one thing that the thing I should have pointed out the most is the only real democracy is a primary.
I agree.
That's
I
it.
agree. But it's almost impossible. I'm running for Congress in New York 3. I had to get on the ballot. I had to go around the party itself. I had to put in $1 million of my own money in. I had to build an infrastructure around the party. Me being able to
What
do
is it?
that,
Which district is that? Swazi?
Swazi.
And you're running a Republican primary?
Correct.
Against,
LePetri.
is there another guy running against too? Is there a third guy?
Lavery, but he's not in it. He's not.
Okay.
I think
Look,
he's
you're going up against the party money. There's no federal matching funds, are there?
No.
No, you're screwed.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that we're all screwed if we can't get real candidates up to run, to actually make it to a primary. I agree with you. A primary is a great thing for a voter.
I got on with the primary. But the first time I ran, they didn't support me. The unions, my wife, nobody supported me.
Oh, no, they come after me. They come after you behind the scenes. I don't even want to go into some of the shady stuff they've done.
I'm going to tell you something. If I do decide to run for town board or something, because one of the guys just got arrested, I may ask you people to help me, right? You know, Gary was a big help. That's the mistake I made. I didn't ask people to come and knock on doors and help me. And look, make no mistake about it. They had the PBA out. We were meeting in the Key Food Park lot. There'd be 25 off-duty cops there, right? Going out knocking on doors, right? And then when you knock on someone's door, oh, I'm a cop, I vote for this guy. Most people don't even know who their town. The people don't know because they're busy with their lives. It's like an uninformed voter. They walk in and go Republican or Democrat. I'm pushing the Democrats in the town of Smithtown to switch to Republican, and the independents and the conservatives, because the only way you win in the town of Smithtown is on the Republican line. So I said the Democrats, you're never going to win. Switch to Republican.
Correct, but if Suffolk County is like Nassau County, they clear the field. They clear the field of all the other candidates. So there's no competition between people to get real representation.
The party leaders, and look, I'm going to hand it to them. Once I won, they were behind me. And if I would have won this time, they would have been behind me. Look, I like the party leaders aren't bad guys. They're really. I don't know about Nassau. I have no knowledge of Nassau.
I'm calling it really bad. I'm operating in a system that exists, so I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I had to put $1 million of my own money up. I had to build an infrastructure and do all these things. These are things that the average person can't do. I've seen people advocate on behalf of children and our communities all over the place. School boards, all, public hearings, those kind of things. These are the kind of people that should be representing us.
Yeah.
But there's an active aggression against people who want to run outside the party because the power structure is solely that their power comes from the fact that they're the only path to get to office.
Of course. But see, I would start off smaller, right? And then try to work your way up through it. But
No, I built 2 of the top law firms in New York. I served my country in the United States Air Force, yeah.
Oh, we're going to talk after this.
Yeah.
What kind of lawyer are you?
I have 2 law firms. I have a catastrophic personal injury law firm in Manhattan, and I have a class action 10b5 financial fraud law firm in New York.
We'll talk in a minute. There's a look. It's an uphill battle. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it for me. I'm running because I want to encourage other people to run. I think that's what's going to make our country better. I think that's what's going to make our community better as well.
I agree. Look, I'm a fiscally conservative Republican. I'm socially, whatever you want to do in your house, God bless you. It's not like I'm not getting in people's houses or bedrooms. It's not what I'm about. But I'm about making it affordable for the guy who doesn't have a government job, or a guy who doesn't have a pension, or someone small business owner who's struggling, or someone wants to buy a house. Look, there are some people, let me tell you, there are some need for apartments. Like, I was fixing my sprinkler system yesterday and painting my house the week before. I never in my life thought about living like in a condo apartment, but I'm starting to think about it. I'm so sick of doing this work.
I'm with you.
It's hard. I mean, I had my sprinklers blown out, and this fall, which I never do. I usually do it myself. And the guy, all the underground, all the couplings blew, like 7 of them, and one of them was like down 3 feet below a tree. It was a nightmare. Anyway.
You'll be running on the HOA from if you go in the condo.
No. No. Can I tell you something? The big joke is I wish I could take a pill and not know anything I know. Like just it would because some of my friends are not into politics. Like the guys I hang out with, and they're not generally not cops. Though ironically, all the retired cops all love me now because once they retire, they realize what's going on. And look, again, I don't begrudge the cops. I think the union is smarter than all the politicians. The union officials have it figured out.
They play both sides.
Yeah, well, and they play. I mean, wouldn't it be so easy? Think about how easy this would be. Think about how simple this would be. You put a bill in that says you cannot take money from any union. You have to vote on their contract. If they vote 18-0, who are they going to go after? Nobody. It's over. Like that, the system is fixed. In a flash of an eye, it's fixed. And what I propose to the county leaders is, guess what? They can't take money, but the party can. So now the party has the money and they can distribute it, who they think is a good candidate, right? So it won't be, it'll be limited. You know, so I would get rid of the super PAC. I would not allow police officers to have a super PAC. I just don't think it's right. I think the Hatch Act and the FBI has it right. Look, you can vote, you can individually do this, but the county legislature, the state legislature, Vassal County can fix this in one session. You can no longer take money from a union if you have to vote on their contract. It's forbidden. It's over. Nope, never happened. But it could be done in one session. In a snap of a finger, it could be fixed. But no one has any balls.
They need to vote.
Well, they don't need to vote. If they all got in a room, and I tried to do this, listen, let's vote against it. Let's just vote for it, and it's over. We walk out. When you go to a legislative meeting, you go and sit there. It's all union guys. They're all there. They're all sitting in the room. That's who goes to these things.
Yeah, but they saw what they did to you and tried to stop you.
Of course.
And they're all afraid of it.
It's not like they could beat me, but it sent a message to everyone else. We'll do to Trotta. We'll do to you what you did to Trotta.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's a horrible system. But it gives me something to do. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.